Well, it is another beautiful day in Saskatchewan. It's about 22 degrees, 23 degrees, which I like just fine, to be perfectly honest with you. Sunny skies. It's a little bit windy. We're probably somewhere in the mid-30s for kilometer an hour per wind, but we're not shooting long distance anyway, so that's not really going to matter. But I apologize, you're going to have to probably deal with a little bit of wind in the video today. What we're here for is to test Cross Industries 1010 coupled magazines. Now, before we start, there's a couple things that you need to know about these magazines. They came onto the market several years ago when Canada still had AR-15s and life was good. It's a pistol magazine. They're limited to 10 rounds. They're integrally coupled with each other. They're a polymer that is made to function in sub-zero temperatures for Canada. They're a great mag, and I've used the Cross Industries mags for quite a while myself. Then the ARs went away, and now over the last several years, the AR-180 platform has become more and more popular. And for a lot of people, the Cross Industries mags work just fine. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, the Cross Industries mags just did not work for them. There was a lot of feeding problems. I had a lot of issues with a lot of the 180 platforms that I've been testing. In fact, almost all of the 180 platforms that I've been testing, I had issues with the Cross Industries mags that I had. A little while ago, Cross Industries got in contact with us at the show, and they said, we've redesigned the magazine. And they've improved the feed lips, they've improved the ramp. They've done a number of different things specifically so that they will work better with the 180 platform rifles that are in Canada. And I'll tell you this right off the bat, I think that's a great idea. I'm going to give props to Cross Industries for adapting to what's going on in the world or in Canada, just the same as everybody else is. So they've sent us several of these, and they were very kind to do so for us to test. Now, this is the package. This one's still in the package. I just wanted to show you guys this because those of you who are going to go out looking for these, I cannot find any identifiable markings that show that this is the new Cross magazine. There's no V2 or anything like that. It still says for AR-15 pistol. I have not compared it to an older package. It's possible they've changed the package, but I can't see anything identifiable that specifies that these are the new redesigned magazines for the AR-180 platform. So be aware of that when you guys are out hunting for your Cross mags. Maybe get in touch with Cross, find out how you can find out how to get the new magazines, assuming that this test goes well. I hope that it will. I have not fired any of these yet. I'm going to be doing it as you guys are doing it, and I've got 4 different 180 platform rifles to test this in. First of all, this is a True North Arms enhanced 180 upper on a Spectre Ltd Spec 180 lower, and it's various Magpul brand furniture. It's got a TNA fake can on the end just for a little bit of fun, make it look like it's a bit of a shorter barrel even though that it's not. This baby right here is the Sterling Arms R18 Mark II, and those of you who watch my videos regularly will know that we had this is a pre-production version that we had, and there was a pin issue with the bolt. The roll pin was causing problems with the extractor, and that is not something that you guys have to worry about that have production models, but I have had it fixed now. I have a production bolt in here now. I have not tested it yet, so I guess this is going to be a little bit of a mini test to make sure this is extracting properly again now, although I'm extremely confident that it is. In fact, I'm so confident that it's going to extract properly that I'm not even testing it beforehand. You're going to see it as I see it. This here is a Generation 1 WK-180C. It's all decked out in the world's finest Chinesium. In terms of the scope and the foregrip and all that sort of stuff. However, other than that, this is just a stock earlier, or I should say mid-generation WK-180C. You can see it's of the generation when the lower receiver was a different color and the handguard was a different color than the upper. But this is a factory gun. Nothing has been done to it except for an aftermarket charging handle. I had to borrow this because I don't own a stock 180C anymore. So we're going to be seeing two different versions of the, well, semi sort of Gen 1, because this is a Spec 180 lower. But you're getting a factory Gen 1 and you're getting a factory Gen 2. This is the WK-180C Gen 2. A couple of changes. I'm just trying a few things out here. We just put an MDT grip on it. We put a Magpul CTR fixed stock on it because I hate getting beard hairs caught in these things. It happens all the time. And this has a Trigger Tech gunner trigger in it, courtesy of the wonderful folks over at Trigger Tech. If you don't have a Trigger Tech in any of your guns, well, then you don't like guns. I'm just going to say that. But the Gen 2 WK-180C. As usual, we're going to be blasting the Remington UMC bulk blaster ammo, and hey, let's just see how this does. All right, what we've got here is 4 magazines, each loaded with 10 rounds. We're going to have a blast, 10 rounds per magazine. I'm going to assume that all of these magazines are made to the same specs across the board. I got a sliver already. If we have any problems in any of these rifles with any particular magazine, then we will try that magazine in different rifles. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that they're all just going to be the same and they're all going to function the same, because if each magazine is different, well, I guess they're not ready for production, and I think that they are. So first up, this is going to be the WK-180C Generation 2, and we're going to fire 10 rounds and see what happens. Were you counting at home? Can I count here? I thought I just fired 9 rounds. However, all 9 rounds fired, or 10 if I'm miscounting, fired perfectly well. That actually was very nice. I'll say this, it's still a little bit loose in this magazine well, but I don't think it's as loose as the other magazines were. I'll tell you this though, it seats beautifully. Like, you do not have to worry. You don't need to tap it. It just goes right in and it holds, and like, it's holding quite good. Little bit of a rattle, nothing major. That's a good start as far as I'm concerned. And it held the bolt back, so we're happy with that. Now, I did insert this magazine in the WK-180C Gen 1 earlier. Obviously, I did that because we do not have a bolt hold open mod on this rifle. It's actually a little bit tighter than it was in the Gen 2 magwell. There's front to back play, but there's very little side to side play. There was a little bit more side to side play in this one. Let's see what happens with 10 rounds. Oh, Chinesium scopes. I love you. That worked well. All 10 rounds worked just fine. We should do this test. That drops free, no problem. Bolt held back. Let's go back to the Gen 2 for a sec. I know this is going to happen because it's very loose in the magwell, but I don't think you have to worry about whether that's going to drop free or not. Okay, Sterling R18 Mark II. This is a double test because we are testing our new bolt. But not really, I'm pretty confident with it. Again, seats wonderfully well. This is not as wobbly as it is in either of the Gen 2s. You can see there's a little bit of forward to back play, but it's not really wobbling. It's moving, but there's no wobble. You could call that a little bit of flop, but not really. Actually, that fits quite well in there. Let's do that again. Yeah, that fits and inserts very nicely. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And let's do 10 rounds. I could barely get through 1 or 2 rounds with the other generation of magazine in the R18, and that was perfect. So this one does fit a little bit tighter, but still drops free just fine. We held the bolt back, we ran all 10 rounds. Let's call that a successful first step. Now we got the Spec 180 with the TNA enhanced upper. So we're getting the same play, and I don't know if you guys can hear this. You can hear that wobble a little bit. It's been doing that in all of the 180C platforms. It did not do that in the R18. I'm just going to put that out there. But again, it's inserted hard. Like, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to come out. And frankly, it's no more wobbly than your GI, your aluminum GI mags. I don't think it's anything to worry about at all. Let's see how it runs. Forgot I had a Trigger Tech Diamond in this thing. Damn, that's a nice trigger. We ran all 10, no problems. Bolt held back. Magazine, sorry, drops free. Just based off of that alone, I'm going to say mission accomplished from Cross Industries, but we're going to do a couple of more tests. Okay, test number 2. We can't get away with testing these magazines without trying the old steel cased Barnell ammo. These are the, what are they, 62 grain soft point boat tails. Now, I've had quite a lot of good luck with this ammunition in the past, given that it's just cheap garbage Russian ammo. But let's see how it does with these new cross mags. I've got 5 rounds per magazine. We've already run 10 rounds with brass case. We'll see what it does with 5 rounds. And the only reason I'm doing that is I brought a few less of these out to the range than I intended to bring. I thought I had a bunch more in my case and I didn't. So we're going to do 5 rounds each. It'll still give you a pretty good idea of whether it's going to run out of these magazines or whether it's not going to run out of these magazines. I also would like to mention that I am currently accepting applications for ammo sugar daddies. So if anybody out there, you know, has too much money or too much ammunition, or both, I'll be your huckleberry. This is the Gen 2 180C, 5 rounds. Got a click. Let's inspect this round here. That right there is a light primer strike, an extremely light primer strike. It's no wonder that didn't ignite. I don't know if you guys, if it's focusing on that for you guys or not, but it's just a very, very light primer strike. And it looks like the round is a little bit deformed. I'm not willing to say that that is the fault of the magazine at the moment. Let's fire it off anyway. Times 2. What's that about? I'm getting very light primer strikes. I don't think this is the magazine's fault. This, let's put it in the other side. This particular round is a little bit deformed. Let's see if it fires this time. Yeah, that time fired and held back. That's not the magazine's fault, guys. That's crappy soft point ammo, I believe. This is the Gen 1. And no problems. You know, this is a factory Generation 1 mil-spec trigger. These other 3 rifles have one form or another of, no, that's not true. I do not, this is still factory, so I don't have a trigger tech in here. Both of these are mil-spec, but this one and this one, the Gen 2 and the True North Arms Enhanced, they both have trigger techs in them, and it's quite a difference going from mil-spec to trigger tech. Let's go with the Mark II R18, 5 rounds. Can I not count again? Nope, he just didn't get a bolt hold open there. Interesting. This is the TNA Enhanced Upper, Spec 180 Lower. And that was no problem at all. I'll say this, guys, this True North Arms Enhanced Upper comes with a nickel plated bolt carrier, and it is so much smoother than any of the nitrided or nitroxed or whatever versions of the other 180 platforms. That's a winner. That's a keeper. A couple of hiccups there. I'm not sure that they are the fault of the magazine. I think the magazines are functioning the way that they're supposed to be. I think it's that occasionally this Barnell ammo doesn't like doing what it's supposed to do in some of these rifles. So just to recap that for you, you all just watched it, but the Gen 2 had 2 light primer strikes. I think it wasn't feeding properly because the case was deformed. So again, I'm not even sure that's the fault of the rifle or the magazine. I think we just happened to shoot a deformed case. We did not get a bolt hole back with the R18, although I have noticed with, you know, I've put a pretty significant amount of ammunition through this thing at this point, both steel cased and brass. And I have noticed that really to make the steel case run efficiently, you do need to turn the gas setting up 1 or 2 settings. And I don't think that's uncommon. I think that exists in a lot of rifles, really to get them to run the way that you want to for this, you know, steel cased ammo. You just need to overgas it a little bit. Now, the 180C platform is notorious for being overgassed already, so not a surprise that we just didn't quite get a bolt hole back. If I reran that and turned the gas up a setting or 2, I have no doubts that it would run it just fine too. And again, that's the nice thing of having an adjustable gas system. So that's test number 2. Okay, test number 3. We're going to test the ability to change mags. So we're not going to go crazy. We've got 2 rounds in each side, each magazine, with the coupler attached in the middle. Just for gits and shiggles, I pulled a little bit of 3-card Monty shuffle off camera while I was doing this. So each magazine is going to be operating out of a different rifle than it was for the earlier parts of the test, just to make sure just didn't hit the jackpot with each individual magazine. Although again, I don't think that's the case, but we're just making sure that we're randomizing this as much as we can. So we're going to do 2 rounds of steel case. We're going to change the magazine, and we're going to do 2 rounds of brass. And first up is going to be the Gen 2 180C. So we're going to go 2 rounds, magazine change, 2 rounds. That's interesting. That was with the steel cased ammunition again. So I'm not certain if the round is being deformed upon insertion. Can't see too well in there. Still got a bad angle. But guys, I definitely see some lead scratch marks on the feed ramps here. That's interesting. You know, I've heard of people saying before that these get marred up, and then eventually where the receiver meets the feed ramps, sorry, it gets marred up and then it doesn't stop feeding properly. This is with a soft point steel case, so you know, I can't say that that's what's happening, but there is definitely some lead scratching on there. Where did I put that round? And I think what's happening is we're not quite feeding properly. Take two. So that's an interesting thing to note with this steel cased ammo. This is the first time this has happened to me with this Gen 2, and I've put several hundred rounds of steel case through this Gen 2 at this point as well. Sorry for my camera going nuts, guys. It just always goes nuts while I'm recording. Yeah, first time that this has happened. I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit further. I wonder what's causing that. I will say, however, that this steel cased ammo is beating the shit out of this receiver. So I might just not shoot steel case through there anymore. But let's go. Number 2 is our Gen 1 180C 2-2. That went perfectly. Let's look at our R18. Now I'm preparing for the possibility that I have not upped the gas here, so I'm preparing for the possibility that we won't have a bolt hold open, but I also don't really care. So 2-2. Yeah, we didn't have a bolt hold open with the steel cased again. But again, I'm confident that that's a matter of just upping the gas. It's a 2-second fix. This is the Spec 180. Oh, I just noticed that. That will over insert. So if you insert it nice, but if you insert it hard, it will over insert. Just for a moment, just because I noticed it. It will not over insert on the R18. It will over insert on the Gen 1, although to be fair, I really rammed that in there. And it will over insert on the Gen 2, just as easily as it will on the Spec 180. But it would not over insert on the Sterling R18 Mark II. Just for information's sake. Okay, let's go 2-2. I say that went well. So again, not everything is going flawless, but I also don't edit my videos so that they do go flawless. But I don't think that anything that's happening, any hiccups that we're experiencing, are the fault of the magazines. And really what we're here to test right now is the magazines. I will say that it's pretty well known that a lot of the 180 platforms have their idiosyncrasies. We have multiple manufacturers on the table. We have True North Arms mixed with Spectre Ltd. We've got Sterling Arms International, and we've got Kodiak when they were partnered with Wolverine, and we have Kodiak's Gen 2 with Kodiak by themselves. And yeah, a couple of hiccups, but not because of the magazines. The Cross Industries is working really well right now. That's it for test number 2. For test number 3, we're just going to shoot, and I'm not even going to pause this, because what we're going to do, I want you to see this real time. So there's never been a problem with these magazines for the coupling and the decoupling and shooting them as individual magazines. The initial iteration of these things always worked very well. I think this is probably the best part, the most well-designed part of the Cross Industries mags. You just give a twist one direction on the top, the other direction on the bottom, and they just uncouple right away. And then you kind of fit them together just a little bit cockeyed and reverse that twist, and they clip together, and it works really well. But, oh, hang on here. Now I say it works really well. What did I do? Oh no, it's just stiff. Yeah. We're going to shoot 2 rounds with it uncoupled, just to see how that was working. And it doesn't matter which magazine, I think, is with which gun, so we're just going to use 2 of the mags. We're just going to use them uncoupled. There's 2 for the Gen 1, and there's 2 for the Gen 2. And we're going to do the Gen 2 first. So again, still a little bit loose. You can hear it. Like, it does have a little bit of a rattle to it, but it's tight. You don't have to worry about the function. It's just the sound that you're experiencing there. 2 rounds. And that was just fine. So whether it's coupled or not, you're going to get a little bit of a rattle, but insert and function is still just fine. This is your Gen 1. Holy shit balls. Oh, it's because I over inserted it. I was like, guys, that's fucking solid. It will not move. And then I realized it's because I over inserted the magazine. But still, that, I mean, a little bit of rattle, but I'm making it. I'm making it rattle. It's pretty, feels pretty solid. I wouldn't worry about that at all. And I hate this thing. Might as well use it. Okay. So 2 rounds. You know what, let's make sure they still drop free when they're uncoupled. Yeah, that over insertion is becoming a thing. It's happening quite frequently. This is our Sterling R18. Which target do I want? So again, with the brass, we've had 0 issues from the start with the brass cased ammo in that R18. It's running great. But what I did not test, first of all, I can make it rattle, but it doesn't rattle on its own. And there's practically nothing for sideways rattle. But it does still drop free. And you notice it when you're inserting this, it is tighter in this magazine well than in any other magazine well. And it's no surprise that this is the one that will not overfeed or overinsert, sorry. And it still is dropping free very readily. So I don't know if Cross Industries redesigned the magazines with the R18 specifically in mind, but so far it's a dream in the R18 rifle. That isn't to say that it's not working in the other rifles, because it is. These are quite nice, and I've always liked these magazines. Just like if you're running it for a race gun, you just got to know, like, you got to kind of like insert and pull down, and then you're good to go. 2 rounds. I will say this also, with this platform of rifle, just because of the length of my arm, I always want to grab the rifle right where the friggin' gas block is, where that ejection is. Always, I hate that. I should wear gloves when I'm shooting. Anyway, not as loose as the other two. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. With it uncoupled, they weren't that loose in the other two. So, but it still feels a little tighter than it does in the other two. And it's still dropping free quite readily, but really, really easy to over insert with this rifle. But I think it works just fine. Now, I don't think we need to test other configurations. I mean, most people know by now that the Cross Industries magazine can be coupled in like a standard, what would you call that? Concave AR-15 fashion. Now when you have it coupled in that way, don't take my advice for this because I'm not an expert. I don't compete in 3-gun. I'm not a running gunner. I'm not former military or current military or any of that shit. I'm just some moron who takes advantage of the internet platform that he has. But what I've seen a lot of other people do is they grab the magazine palm up, and then all you do is just go thumb up to reinsert the magazine the other way in that configuration. So palm up and then thumb up to reinsert the magazine in that configuration. However, the cross mags, and this isn't new to this version of the cross mag, the cross mags have always done this, but if you reverse that, it makes kind of like a, I don't know, leaning Tower of Pisa or lazy S shape, whatever you want to call it. And in that case, when you insert the magazine, you can still do the same thing. You can go palm up, but you just kind of flip it up, close your hand and reinsert. But I think, how do I have seen other people do this? I don't know how I've seen them do this. I've never shot cross mag in this configuration, but it works in this configuration as well. I don't like it as much, but I don't know. It exists. It's a thing. You can shoot it in that configuration if you want. Personally, I like that configuration. And if I'm taking any of these rifles out hunting, whether it's going to be boar or other, you know, smaller, medium, well, not small, but medium-sized game, I would just take it like this. You know, you don't have to worry about it catching on anything. You don't have any exposed rounds. This will fit easily, and you know, if you need more magazines, it'll fit easily in whatever magazine pouch / holding system that you've got. I would not worry about it at all. Guys, I think this is a pretty successful test of these magazines. Now, I will say this, there are just ever so slight scratch marks starting to show on the top of these feed lips and on the top of the feed ramp here as well. I don't think that's necessarily out of the ordinary. A big problem with the Generation 1 is that the bottom of the bolt would get caught on these feed lips. At least that's the problem that I had, and that very clearly has been fixed. The reliability in terms of feeding, I believe, has been fixed. I think any issues or hiccups, I wouldn't even call anything we experienced today issues, but I think any hiccups that we experienced today were solely because of the ammunition, maybe with one of the rifles, certainly with trying to run steel cased ammunition through the lower gas settings. And I have this on its lowest gas setting right now, just so everybody knows. So that's certainly a thing that's very easily fixable just by adjusting your gas system. All in all, I think Cross Industries has done a great job with their next generation. I would contact Cross Industries if anybody is interested in these and find out how you can tell whether you're getting the new design or whether you're getting the old design. I'm not sponsored. I guess these were sponsored by Cross Industries and that they sent them to us to test. But, you know, we're not sponsored by Cross Industries at all. And I'm not beholden to Cross Industries at all. You know, I've talked about the cross mags not feeding properly before. And I believe that it's because I did that they've given us this opportunity to test their new magazines. So I'd like to thank them for giving us the opportunity to test their new magazines. And I think they've done a good job with it. I'm going to be getting some for myself. And I probably suggest that you guys do the same. Now, before I go, I just like to address the elephant in the room that I know a lot of people have already said, and that Chris is once again shooting off of the safe area table. First of all, I'd like to mention that this doesn't even say safe area anymore. It's all beat to shit, and the words are not really even discernible. And once again, when I got out here onto the range today, this table was facing in this direction downrange. I moved it back about 10 meters to where I'm shooting right now, but it was facing this direction. And I know at a lot of ranges that would be an absolute no-no. It doesn't seem to be a no-no at my range because it's pretty commonplace. And you know, until I'm told that I shouldn't be doing it, there's no reason why I can't be doing it, because it works well for these videos. And there's no one else on this particular range. There are other people on the range today, but nobody on my particular range that I'm shooting on. So if anybody wants to make comments down in the comments below, please feel free to do so. Canada is still a free enough country that you can do that. And it'll just give me the opportunity to tell you to find a nice large hat, perhaps a sombrero or something like it, and go fuck it. Until then, Cross Industries Mags, call it Generation 2, Version 2, whatever you want. They did it good. They did it right. Talk to you guys later.